name is Rich, and I'm an addict. I'm just talking today. I just wanted to talk. Um, I've been an addict for over 25 years now, and to be honest with you, I've just suffered through addiction my whole life. Um, Up until recently, I'd never even thought of myself as myself. Uh, I got sober a little over 4 years ago, but I'm really just starting to recover. Um, what I did was I put my sobriety into somebody else. I didn't want to deal with myself and what I've been through, what I'd done. I didn't want to deal with none of that. Are you crazy? But it would never leave me alone. And when I was sober, it would just flood me. And I guess it's a little bit different for me. I was born a triplet. So I am a triplet. And from a very young age, it was instilled in us that we were together. We were one person. We were same. So I never really thought of myself as myself. I always thought of myself as two other people. And we did everything together. We shared everything together. All the sorrow, all the pain. And we also shared each other. I know we loved each other. And it was sad because I look back and I can see that we were so desperate for love ourselves. When we got older, we were just trying to get somebody else to love us besides us, I guess. At least that's the way I saw it. I had a mother that was a raging alcoholic and drug addict. And I had a father who didn't drink or do drugs at all. He didn't even lay a hand on us, but he allowed this woman to do the things she did to us. Sometimes I'd wonder if the abuse was going to last all night. Sometimes it did. I didn't know if there was an ending to her suffering. Does she have a stopping point to the pain she is inflicting? Because I didn't see it. And I couldn't understand why my dad allowed it. Why he allowed that to happen to us every day. Why we struggled every day. You acted like you worked so hard. You were always gone. How can we not be okay? Suffering through neglect and abuse my whole childhood, I had to suppress my emotions. I had to endure. Life became something that I had to tolerate, something I had to deal with, something I had to build an endurance for. Because as of right now, I couldn't have taken life. My mom's beatings were too much for me. And I had asthma, so it was even harder. It seemed like I spent my whole childhood fighting for air. Being premature. My mom, she had us at a very young age. So me and my brother, we spent a lot of time in incubators and, just fighting for life. And they said that we did better together. We would be so sick while we were apart, but when we were together, we were better. I know it sounds strange, but that's how it was. And I don't know how to express how much I love my siblings. I was always very protective of them, and I hated seeing them abused and hurt. Sometimes they were unrecognizable. and we had to tell people that we did it to each other. You know, once my mom's abuse leaked outside the house and people realized what she was, we would just move. So, you know, there's that. But these rages, they were so bad. She became our alarm clock in the middle of the night. Everything I did triggered an asthma attack. Everything. I couldn't play. I couldn't do much. It seemed like I would always have an asthma attack. You know, when I got to the 7th grade, I got tired of watching all the other kids have fun, have a good time. And I was just going home every day, scared, wondering what was going to happen next. I never got comfortable. I never got content. We moved around too much for that. I never got to know anybody. I never got to try anything. We were always locked in our rooms, always locked in the basement, playing with each other, out of mom and dad's hair. Dad would just allow her to do whatever. And then what's even worse is she used to make us clean up her mess she would make. She would destroy everything, and then us triplets would have to stay up all night cleaning it. It's not like I was an adult then. I was a child just coming around. How do I process this? Like I said, life was to be tolerated. I always felt abandoned as a child. You know, I reached out for help a couple times, and I even prayed to God. You know, I started going to church just a way to get out of the house. And I would listen to the preacher, and he would talk about faith and love and life. I would just look at him so miserable. Like, I don't understand. I don't see this love. I don't see this life you speak of. I don't feel this. I started losing hope. And I started wondering why God would leave me in this situation with these people that hate me, that can't stand me. Why would you give me asthma? I don't want to be held back like this. You know, when I reached the 7th grade, I got tired of having asthma. And I saw the kids from the track team practicing. So I thought it'd be a great idea for me to go join the track team. I figured if I could build my lungs up, maybe I wouldn't have asthma attack anymore. Maybe I wouldn't have asthma anymore. And it's crazy, you know, I had attacks all the time, but when I had my track meet, I was running the mile, and after I finished, I went to my knees and I had an attack. Yeah, it was a good one too. It was a good one. It was hard to breathe. I was fighting it. They were trying to give me my inhaler, and I refused it. And I pushed through. And I never had another asthma attack again. That was it. And even though nobody ever came to see me at those track meets or when I was doing anything, even though there was nobody there to see me accomplish anything, I still felt like I did something. I gave myself accomplishment, I guess. And that started to give me a little bit of courage. I actually started to feel good. I started working. I was 14. Immediately, we were the nannies in the house, us triplets. We had younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister. And they were a lot to handle, especially for us as kids. We didn't know how to take care of other kids. We didn't even know how to take care of ourselves. But we learned, and we were my mom and dad's slaves, is what we were. Them constantly fighting about money, but yet he wants to throw her wallet so she can go out and get fucked up. I never understood that. You've got 5 kids sitting here that are doing without, don't have anything. We get beat because we're crying we don't have anything for Christmas, and called ungrateful. We couldn't even get a birthday present any year. It was a joke, is what it was. A sick joke. Then my mom came in on her rages, and she tried. She destroyed everything. And finally I had enough. I stood up. And I called my dad at work, and I threatened to call Children's Services if he didn't get her out of the house. I was done. He got rid of her, finally. We had started getting high and smoking weed. We're 14 years old, 15 years old. And I started to notice something after my mom left. I started noticing how much he really didn't want us there. Just us triplets. We didn't want to take care of our younger siblings anymore, and I didn't want to give him my paychecks anymore. But I wanted to grow and do something, and I was wanting to go to work for myself and just figure it out. I was just trying to grow, and he kept stunting my growth, keeping us out of school like that. Making us feel like it was our fault, like we were the problem. He really manipulated us into thinking that. The one thing he was good at was making people feel sorry for him. Poor me. And you would have think he would have had enough of her from the beginning, but I never understood it. We went to Delaware, and we went around his family, who are great people, I thought. Better than what I was dealing with. My mom got so bad there that she tried to kill us. Literally tried to kill us. And then stabbed him. Went to jail. And he gets her out of jail. And we still have to suffer and struggle with this. All the sexual abuse, all the physical abuse, the neglect. It just never seemed to end. I walked in on my cousin on top of his 4-year-old sister. I didn't know how to handle that. I knew it wasn't right, but I was scared. I was just a little kid. I was 11, 12 when that happened. I was 12 years old. I had 2 cousins. They went to jail for rape. And after he did what he did to that little girl, I didn't know how to live with myself. That put me in a dark place as a person. It put me in, like, the world was really this disgusting. I didn't want any part of it. Why would I want to be a part of that? You know, her mom, she called the house the next day screaming. Her daughter's fighting for her life because her insides are torn out. She thought I did it at first. You know, I had to testify against my own cousin. It wasn't easy, but I did it. About 2 years ago, he finally got out of prison and he hit a semi and died. He's gone. But when I looked at my dad, I didn't understand why he wanted us around these people. And why we were such a problem. I never understood that. You know, we started partying, us triplets did. You know, I was doing ecstasy and drinking and doing whatever I could get my hands on. Because what just happened to me, I didn't know what to do with. What I just dealt with, saw, please, somebody get me high. Somebody get me fucked up. That's all I thought. I didn't know how to handle any of that. And I started manipulating women, girls. I just started doing whatever. I just started using whatever. I thought I was this worthless piece of shit person. Nobody could ever love me. Nobody could genuinely love me. Maybe they could like something about me, but nobody could ever love me. Look at my family. Look at this. You know, I think as me and my triplet siblings got older, we went on a mission to find something else besides each other that loved us or liked us or could care about us. And, you know, my dad convinced us that it was a good idea to go to Mississippi. Why? I don't know. I didn't think it was a good idea. And I could tell you that that was the worst experience of my teenage childhood. That will be forever embedded in me. And when I tried to come back, he made me feel like I put myself there when he forced me to go there. So when we came back, we noticed something. He didn't want us. I think my sister knew for a while. I think she knew for a couple years, and that's why she got so hateful and rageful. I think me and my brother, we were naive to think that he actually cared about us. You know, when we were around 16, my sister got pregnant, and we found out she had this rare blood. We had this rare blood that's passed on from your father's side. And he withdraws us out of high school. Now at this point, Children's Services had gotten involved in our life because us triplets stopped taking care of our younger siblings. And they were constantly alone. And something happened that Children's Services got involved. And in my family, it's all about the sexual abuse. The physical abuse, the neglect, it's just bad. My brother and sister, they get taken out of the home. And my dad comes and withdraws us from high school. And he sits us down in the apartment. And he says, I'm not your biological father. And there's a few months left on this lease. You guys can finish the lease out here as long as you pay the bills. After that, you're on your own. Now, we had already felt alone and abandoned by this guy. But I can tell you that everything made 100% sense to me. After he said that, I realized he hated us, and it made him feel good to see us hurt. He actually didn't care about us at all. He only cared about himself. And it's sad to say because I'm named after this guy. So I thought I was a daddy's boy. So what happened? We went off the deep end. We sure did. We had given up stripless. My sister, she had disappeared. I hadn't seen my brother or my younger sister. I haven't seen them since, and I'm 39. I've seen my younger brother. I had to search for him. But I couldn't find my little sister. You know, as soon as my dad could, he shipped her off to my mom. And then she went through something that I'll never know about, and she is traumatized for life. As are we all. You know, as soon as I hit 18, because me and my brother were on the street for a while after that. We couldn't sign a lease anywhere. So finally we hit 18 and we found a place, but we ended up doing something really stupid. Ended up in jail. And I was actually tired. Me and my brother, we talked a lot. The only thing we knew how to do was work. And I had got my GED, so I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something. So we tried. We ended up in jail. We ended up with felonies. We were being charged with felonies. We no longer saw our dad anymore. He wasn't our dad. As much as we tried to look at him as our dad, he was not our dad. He did not want to be our dad. He didn't want us calling him dad. I tried a couple of times to reach out to him, and I just got kicked off the property or denied access in some way. I ran into my mom when I was 20. And I had seen enough from this family to last me a lifetime. And how I still wanted love, I'll never know. How I still felt compassion, I don't know. But I met somebody when I turned 18, and I thought she was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. You know, she had a 4-year-old son. She was a complete adult to me, and I had no idea. In my mind, I was still a kid, staying high every day. She took me to her house. I slept for 2 days. I sure did. And when I woke up, I felt so good, so embraced. Her parents were great, and I'm looking at these people like, what is this? Not used to this. But I was a victim at the time, and I felt like a victim. I really did. And I felt defeated. I didn't know who I was. And the only thing I did know was pain. And I wanted no part of it. I tried to bury it. I tried to bury it. I really did. I tried to ignore it, suppress it. I got used to physical pain. I really did. It was the fact that I really didn't realize that mental and emotional pain existed as pain. I didn't think of that as pain. I just wanted to stop thinking about it. I wanted to stop feeling it. I wanted to feel something else. I would have dealt and felt anything besides what I was feeling and going through. I felt so pathetic as a person. And honestly, I felt violated. And I felt suppressed as a person. I hated being in a controlled environment in my own hell. And that's what I did when I got into my first real relationship is I stayed in my head. I needed constant validation. I'm always feeling sorry for myself. Always feeling like a victim. And I didn't want to feel that way. So it made me a very angry person, made me very bitter. And honestly, I think maybe part of me had a hate for women at the time. She started talking about having a baby and I freaked out. I didn't want to bring a child into this world with this family here. Are you out of your mind? And it brought up things. It started flashbacks. I started having accidents in bed. I would wake up in the corner of the room. She would wake me up and I would just grab her and start choking her against the wall. Like, why would you slap me like that? I'd tell her. And then she'd be looking at me, ready to cry, scared to death, telling me she was just trying to wake me. But in my mind, I would swear up and down she was trying to slap me. I hated that I did that to her. I hated myself as a person. And instead of accepting that and owning that, I would yell at her and tell her never to do that to me again. I didn't want to deal with myself. I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't know how. I spent my whole childhood begging God, praying to God, and I spent my whole adulthood ignoring Him and blaming Him. It was tough. It was tough. I was married and divorced within a year. And then I had a son, and I was just a single father for about 8 months. And all I did was work. I stayed so busy I didn't even have time to think. I would work myself to the bone until I was tired enough to go to sleep, and then I'd go pass out. And I stayed high. I smoked weed all day. It was part of the problem. And then she started coming back around, and we got married again. Divorced again within a year. She had cheated on me. I couldn't understand that. Why would you beg me to come back? Beg us to get back together? Why would you want that so bad just to cheat on me? It was right after she had another child, and I had 2 sons, 4 years apart at this time. And I had to start over. I had to move out and start over. I was never myself. I was what she wanted me to be. So when that happened, I was lost. Um, I was just as lost as when my dad told me he wasn't my dad. I was in the middle of four lanes. I had no idea which way to go. My sister, she had disappeared. I didn't talk to her much. I had no idea what she was going through in her life. My brother, he was constantly coming around, but he would always act crazy, out of control, and it scared me. Um, I was going through a divorce, and she was trying everything to take the kids from me. My mom, I hadn't seen her, and her sister brought her brother over, my uncle, and convinced me to let him stay with me and turned my brother away. That's their manipulation. They got us separated, us triplets. So I let him stay with me for a couple weeks, and he took over my downstairs basement. I had a procedure done. I had a cyst removed up here on the top of my leg. And I had a few stitches there. I had like 7 or 8 stitches there. And it was rough for me to move around, so I didn't get the kids that week. My ex-wife had them. I was trying to kick my laundry basket down the stairs, and when I got down there to the bottom, it was really dark down there. I didn't understand why at the time. But when I turned around, there's my uncle hanging from the ceiling. I didn't know how to take that when I saw it. Part of me wanted to just go back upstairs and act like I never even saw it. But I didn't. I went, I had my phone. I dialed 911 and I started trying to get him down. And when I squatted to go relieve his pressure off the harness he was wrapped in, I ripped every single stitch. And I got blood just gushing down my leg. It's crazy because I'm sitting here, I'm on the phone, and I'm trying to get this ambulance here, and I'm cutting him loose. And then I finally get him loose and I bring him down. I start giving him CPR. I had no idea how to give CPR, by the way. They were telling me, giving me instructions on the phone. I could see that he had his wrists already cut, and there was blood all over the floor. Actually took me back to that time in Delaware when my mom stabbed my dad, and there was blood everywhere. It's weird how things connect with each other. I started beating on his chest, and I was cussing him out. How could you do this to me in my house? My kids are here, should be here. He had taken all the pain medication that the doctor gave me from the procedure, which was only a few pain pills, whatever, but they were gone. There was an empty bottle on that bed down there. And there's a note to his daughter. I didn't read the note, but I saw that he was ready to just die. He was killing himself. And he was dead. I don't know how long he went without oxygen, but when the ambulance showed up, he let out a gasp and he was gone. He was unconscious for 3 days, and when he woke up, one of the first things he said was, "Rich tried to kill me." I couldn't believe that. I just did everything I could in my power to try to save your life. I was scared. I was in shock. And I was in pain. I didn't know what to think of that. I just stayed away from him. I dropped him and I stopped talking to everybody. I went to a really dark place and I started popping a lot of pain pills. It wasn't enough. I didn't know what to do. And just as I was going through this, these motions of trying to figure this out, I met somebody who came into my life. And I thought she was an angel. I really did. I thought she was. She was so loving and full of love. And I just felt battered and beat up. I tried to hide it. I tried to pretend like I was a happy person and I was content in my life, but it didn't last long. I just buried in pills and she followed right behind me with them. We ended up having a daughter together, and soon after that I abandoned my boys because I didn't want them to see me like this. How can I be a good father? I didn't want to see them hurt, so I abandoned them, which was probably the worst thing I could have ever done to them. Especially since I know what it's like to be abandoned. I didn't know how to deal with myself emotionally. I didn't know how to stop thinking, stop reliving. And in that, I just caused more destruction. Up until I was 14, I suffered through addiction. And then up until this point, I had caused suffering and addiction. And that just made me get high more. Pretty soon, I just ran out of money. In 2016, I started shooting up. I started shooting up heroin. I thought it was cheaper. I watched everything go, little by little, slowly too. And I tried to give up a couple times, but my ex, she wouldn't let me. She kept trying to love me, I guess. I just couldn't be loved at the time. I didn't even like myself. I thought if I slowly did it that I wouldn't OD. But really what I was doing was slowly killing myself. I lost my daughter to Children's Services. I was sleeping in the woods, on the ground, with her right there. Walking around with nothing to go, nothing to do, nowhere to go. Struggling, suffering, hungry. I'm causing this. And she's right here. And she even had a couple miscarriages through the process. We gave up a baby for adoption. All because I was on drugs. All because I was living in my past trauma, causing trauma. My mom passed away, and shortly after that, My mom passed away shortly after her brother tried to hang himself in my basement. And I wanted to talk to her, I did. I wanted to. But I had so much hate for her, I didn't even go to pull the plug. She had a brain aneurysm in the middle of the street, laid there, died. My brother and sister went down there, and when they came back, all she had was a box, little box with barely anything in it. But there was an old picture of us. I didn't understand that. Because she told me my whole childhood she hated my guts. Why do you got a picture of us? In 2016, I ended up on the trap house floor, fighting for air. I couldn't breathe, and every single muscle on my body was in pain. I mean, real pain. And I was the type of guy, I could walk off physical pain pretty good. I couldn't even get up. I was scared. Ambulance came, I went to the hospital, and it wasn't long after I got there before I found out that I had an infection through my whole body, through my bloodstream, in my heart, in my organs, everywhere. And there was a vegetation on my heart valve leaking into my lung. I was a combination of a lot of bad things, and I was a perfect storm for death. And these doctors, they had me, they told me I was gonna die, that I'm gonna die. And it's hard when you're being told that you're gonna die and you're supposed to accept this. It's crazy, I thought I'd given up, but I was scared, and I was in a lot of pain. I couldn't scream out because I couldn't breathe. How can you make a sound? I had to give my power of attorney to my ex, and I had to sign over the rights to my daughter because there was a case and they needed to proceed, and since I'm dying, I have no rights. That was hard. That was hard. I couldn't even make my own decisions. But they did something. They brought my daughter up to say goodbye to me. And I think they told her that I was passing away. I think they were trying to prepare her for that. And that tore me up inside alone. But when my daughter came in, she was already crying. She was only 4 years old at the time. But immediately, she puts her hand on my chest, crying, and says, "Daddy, I just need you." "Daddy, I just need you." I could feel her hand in my soul. And I wanted to feel her that I loved her because I couldn't tell her out loud. I needed her to feel it. I couldn't move, so I couldn't grab her. But my daughter needs me. For the first time, I actually felt something genuine. For the first time, I was 31 years old, and I finally felt something genuine. I need to get to my daughter. She needs me. Problem is, these doctors just told me I was about to die. I don't know how I get past that. So I think all I can do is just keep fighting for my next breath. And that's what I did. I was so scared to fall asleep because I knew if I fell asleep, I'd die. I was fighting for air now. How could I do that unconsciously? I can't. I have to stay awake. And I was in so much pain. And I had to accept that pain was never ending. I wanted to try to get up and go to the bathroom, to actually go to the bathroom, to see if I could do it. And I tried. I gave it everything I had. I felt my body trying to give up. And next thing you know, I flatlined. And when I came back to, I was having a hose shoved down my neck for dialysis. My kidneys had shut down. They had stopped working. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about the fact that I just wasn't in pain. Just to me, what was a minute ago. That actually scared me. Because I went from being in severe pain to not being in pain, and then I died. Okay. If I'm in pain, I am alive. Okay. I am here. Okay. If I'm not in pain, I'm dead. Got it. So now, not only do I have a machine helping me breathe, I'm getting dialysis. And I'm just laying in bed being rolled from one room to another. That's it. These doctors, they're putting out one fire after another. They're sitting me up, they're draining my lungs. I mean, they're literally apologizing to me. You know, doctors, they tell me so many times, I put people to sleep for this, and then I go through pain. So I learned when they tell me that to grip something. Because it's about to hurt. But them hours, they turned into days. Them days, they turned into about a week. And I'm laying there stuck. You know, I can't move. And I'm just fighting for air, fighting for my next breath. That's all I keep doing. Now they need to do this valve replacement surgery. These doctors, they're arguing about it. They're actually arguing about a lot of things. They don't think my body can take the procedure, for one, and this vegetation is just in the way of everything. So the doctor finally sits down and he tells me that he can't get my results to get any better, but he has stopped them from getting worse. There is progress there. He doesn't know why I'm still here. But he tells me that keep going. If you stop, you die. Don't stop. And I think he was just trying to give me a pep talk because he wanted me to live too. He was trying to save my life. The only thing I knew to do was to keep breathing. after a little while, I actually started to feel a little better. I was getting sick every day, all day, but as long as I kept putting in nutrients, I was okay. Doctor said I was at least getting something. I was only 106 pounds. I was nothing. I was a freak show. Right out of a sci-fi movie. And they kept monitoring this vegetation and telling me they're going to try and get this thing so they can replace this valve. It's important. This is important for me. So I had it planted in my head that I need to have valve replacement surgery. And after a few months of me going through this, they looked down there, they would go down, they would shove this thing down in my throat, a little camera. It was very uncomfortable and very painful. But the doctor's looking down here and he's looking, and I don't see anything on this damn screen, Like, what are you looking for? And then he leaves. He goes, gets a specialist, and he comes back. And this guy starts looking. And then nothing. I don't see anything. And they send me back to my room. And then a few hours later, a doctor comes in and he says that the vegetation is gone. You don't know where it went. And my valve doesn't look like it's in immediate danger. It needs replaced, but it's not in immediate danger. Like, what's going on here? You just told me to prepare myself. Okay. I will accept you not cutting my chest open. Okay, let's do that. I didn't look at it as an accomplishment. I just looked at it as, hey, I didn't have to have valve replacement surgery right now. And I got to a point to where I got good enough to go to a nursing home. I was getting dialysis 3 times a week, 4 or 5 hours a day. But the thing is, I felt like crap the day before, and I felt like crap the day after. So I never really had a good day. I was always fighting toxic feelings in my body. And I stayed pretty doped up from the doctors, so I didn't even have time to deal with myself. I was going through so much at the time. I actually was trying to figure out how I was going to accept being in a nursing home on dialysis for the rest of my life. Because they had just switched me from acute to chronic. And they had just told me that this was my life. I would get into conversations with this guy there. And I started walking around pretty well with a cane after a couple months. It took a couple months. I was working hard to do it. And I think I aggravated the nursing home while I was doing it as well. I would think that I'm going to get to that corner store and I'm going to have me a Dr. Pepper, because I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed dark pop or things like that. I was on a renal diet. I couldn't have spaghetti either, and spaghetti was a comfort food for me. Somehow, some way, spaghetti just made me feel good. One day they were serving spaghetti in there, and I was so angry. I was so angry they wouldn't allow me to eat it. And I went off. I lost it. And finally they bring me up this waiver to sign that if they bring me spaghetti, I need to know that I'm going to end up puking my guts out, and it's not going to be good. It's going to be violent. I'm like, no, I'm good. I feel fine. I can eat this. So they finally bring me this spaghetti, and I ate every bit of it. Every bit of it. And you know, the first half hour or so, I'm like, man, I'm fine. I'm feeling great. Next thing you know, I am just puking my guts out profusely too. Like, it will not stop, and it hurts. But you know what? I'll be darned if I was going to tell them that I couldn't have it. How can they tell me what I can and can't do? I guess I had a lot of fight in me and I didn't even know it. You know, I felt like a victim my whole life. By watching that guy next to me, he passed away while he was getting a treatment. And I lost a lot of hope after that, because that was a hard truth for me. That's how I was going to die. And you know, I talked to God when I was in the hospital. You know, I'd cuss at him all the time. Why couldn't I see the beauty before? But this time I was just done. You know, take me or leave me, God, but I'm not living like this. So I gave up. And you know, I was alone. Nobody ever came to visit me one time. It was over a year. I started skipping treatments, and it landed me in the ER. It was painful. But this nurse, she got close to me there. You know, she was taking care of me, showering me, feeding me, clothing me, trying to make me feel good about myself. You know, she told me my quality of life is what I make it. And at the time I thought, yeah, easy for you to say. If they miss my vein on my arm for dialysis, I blow up like a balloon. And then I gotta stay for another couple hours while they drain it. This life sucks. So I just started going through the motions. Because I was forced to, not because I wanted to. I started giving up on things. And then something happened. The kidney doctor came to me and asked me to stick around so he could get some blood work. And he wouldn't talk to me about anything. He said he would talk to me when he got the results. And the next time I went in for my treatment, I showed up there, and I'm walking with a cane at this point. But when I showed up there, he said, "Mr. Street, what are you doing here?" And I said, "This is my day. I'm here for my treatment." You brain dead today? He said, "I called the nursing home, and you are no longer required to have treatments. You have some function." I'm like, "What?" And you know, I even dropped my cane. And he went and sat down in his office, and he said to come here and sit down. He said, "I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen this. Not in a case like yours. I don't know what's going on, but count your blessings." And he did warn me that it was going to be a little bit painful, you know, my kidneys coming back into action. I didn't realize that, but it was kind of like a really rusty engine, like you're trying to get it going again, you know. But I mean, I'm still painful. I have 33% of my kidney function. I guess that's enough. You know, if I eat something with too much acid in it, I get sick. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night getting sick. Getting sick so bad that I don't know how I'm going to make it to the toilet. But I no longer needed dialysis. I didn't take that as an accomplishment because my ex at the time, she was living in the parking lot in a vehicle. She wasn't allowed to sleep inside with me. And this nurse, she got a little too close. She took advantage of me sexually. It was so weird, It's like I gave them what they wanted, even though I didn't want to give it to them. Why I did that, why I couldn't say no. And I actually felt really uncomfortable there. I felt like I was being sexually harassed all the time, and I couldn't get away from it. I started feeling trapped, just like that little kid. So I found an apartment, and I got her an apartment. Left the nursing home way before I was ready. I was weak and pathetic, and my ex made me feel that way too. She made me feel disabled. She didn't make me feel like a man. But I think we were bonded together by trauma. Shortly after I got out of the nursing home into this apartment, my brother had texted me and said that he wanted to come party and hang out, get fucked up. And my ex reminded me how they weren't there for me. Why do they care now? And I had a lot of anger for my brother because out of everybody, I figured that he would have came to see me no matter what. But when I was laying there dying, nobody came to see me. I was alone. So I told him no, I was good. I was trying to get my daughter back. And I thought about it a lot. I thought about calling him and telling him, go ahead and come on down. But then I got a call from a detective. My brother had successfully hung himself. He was gone. So there was no calling him. It was too late. I never even got to see who he was as a person. We were always so stuck in our trauma, trying to run from ourselves. When I got out there, my sister was out there too. And she was so drunk. She was in a trap house. All I saw was my mom looking at her. I was devastated. I didn't know what to do. And when I got out there, I looked in that coffin and all I could see was myself. My brother was laying there dead. There is no triplets anymore. He finally had enough. accept that. I started shooting up hard. I actually passed out in the parking lot, nodded out in the parking lot, and woke up with pebbles all over my face. And shortly after that, I got evicted, and I ended up going to the street again. This time I tried to go to my younger brothers. And he had just gotten out of prison. He'd been out of prison for about a year. And he was trying to do life with a girl. He was a lot like my dad, though. Always working, hiding, putting yourself into somebody else. And he was with a woman that was just, she's a drunk. And Joey would tell me, that it's our fault that Dad's not in our lives. We did it to ourselves. And I never understood that about him, why he allowed a man to blame his child. My brother still does that to this day. But they kept me from my ex and from helping me move forward and get my daughter. Instead, they were just taking my money. And I was just listening to them. And it would just cause me to think of my own mother and father and their relationship. Because that's what it was. All the abuse in that house, the neglect, all the drinking. I started doing drugs again. Now it's 2018. It's the end of 2017. And I had this mouth infection that I let go. And I ended up with a migraine for like a couple weeks. When I went to the hospital, next thing you know, I'm waking up in OSU. I got a bunch of hoses coming out of my head. I have staples everywhere. I'm missing skull. I had an abscess on the back of my brain. So now I'm in a hospital bed for another 5 months, trying to recover. On top of everything else that I just put my body through. What am I doing, God? What do you want with me? I would say. I hated it. I had no motivation, no drive. I didn't feel like a man. I'm a pathetic human being, is what I am. I am trash. I was a victim. When I finally got out of the hospital, I did a lot of thinking while I was in there. And I tried to harden up. I started doing drugs. I found out I had a small chance to get my daughter back. And I remembered why I started fighting to begin with. I jumped on a bus to Netcare, and I went through a 3-day detox program. And when I got out, I went to Brightview. I can tell you when I got there, I didn't want to be sober. I just wanted to stop doing drugs. I will figure sobriety out. Just tell me stop doing drugs, I thought. And it worked for a little while, because I had somebody else. Even though they were putting me down every day, I was still building them up. because I believed what they were telling me. I was a piece of shit. I was toxic. I am a cheater. I am a dirty dog. I am a junkie. I am. I accepted that. And I said, you are wonderful. And I built her up. I invested everything into her. Problem was when I started trying to invest in myself, that's when the real problem started. That's when I noticed the control. And when I didn't want to be controlled anymore, I started noticing the cheating that she had been doing this whole time. And the manipulating. And when she left, I was faced with the hard truth. Myself. But I was okay with that. Because I was interested in something. I wanted to find myself. I wanted to figure me out. Because I couldn't stop doing drugs. Not unless I fixed what was pounding at me, what was haunting me every day. You know, now when I think about my uncle hanging from that ceiling, all I see is my brother. And I cry. I do. But I started to do something. I started to feel motivated. I started to feel better about myself. I started wanting to do things, wanting to learn things. I wanted to learn about my sobriety. I wanted to recover. What is recovery? I thought. And I kept thinking of all this pain and all this pressure. This can't be recovery. How do I handle this? This physical, I can walk off. I can tell you something opened up for me that I will never let be closed again. I have found my light through all of my darkness. And I have lost. I fought for my daughter. I lost. And I fought for my sons. And I lost. I fought for my relationship. And I lost. So much loss. But when I look back, I feel like I've won. I found myself in this empty house. I found myself. Yes, I sit here alone. Yes. But just like that kid who beat asthma, I beat death. I beat abuse, neglect. I beat dialysis. I beat brain surgery. I haven't had heart surgery. I am here. And I do know I wake up in pain a lot. Sometimes I have headaches that make me not want to exist. but it's okay. Because every morning when I wake up and I feel this, I process it and I accept it. And then I thank God for letting me feel that today. Because He has been there this whole time. I had to finally open up and give in. I needed the help, and it took me meeting somebody at Brightview. She is another great and bright and shiny person. And she actually dumbed things down for me. She actually made me understand that I was living in my own prison. She was out here in the world, and she's, come on out here with me. What are you doing in there? And she makes everything exciting and fun. She makes me want to find myself. And she makes me enjoy every part that I don't like about myself. I don't feel like such a freak show anymore. I don't feel so angry anymore. I turned around and I embraced that child me. And I told him that it was okay. I understand. I am here. Pain is my friend. And when I opened up my eyes, there's my brother. It wasn't even me. I will always feel like a piece of me is missing. But I'm going to try every single day to recover. If or when my kids come around, I will be here waiting. And I hope that I am well enough to help them recover too. And maybe we can recover together. Because there's nothing I love more. If I don't wake up tomorrow, I tried every single thing I could to wake up. I did not go without a fight. I will never give up. And I will set my own limits. I make my limits. No matter what anybody tells me, I make my limits. And I dream big. And I love hard. And I enjoy what I see and feel out of life. I enjoy everything. Because everything is beautiful to me now. I've done so many regretful, shameful things. And it's okay. I accept that. And I am sorry. But I am here. And this is my story. Thank you for listening.